All right, Friday, May 19th, 2023, month of May. Hey, this is Mike's Mastermind.com. So I kind of want to round things out a bit. I've been talking quite a bit about the Weltschloss. It's going to be a really bestseller in Germany, I'm telling you. Weltschloss, my German, a combo word for world dwelling, which is a philosophical, ontological examination in the way that we're being in the world. A world that is constructed, uh, right? That is, you could say, artificial in reality because on two levels, it's quite distinct from just being in the forest and living amongst nature in a natural setting, but our human nature and our way of being, how it's reflected in our constructed and concrete dwellings in the city, but also the construction of a whole society and a world that's built. And it's built through our imagination because we are dealing with a physical reality, material world, which we talk about as the MEST, right? The MEST is the matter, energy, space, and time dimension of which informs physical reality. Ask any physicist, that's it. Matter, energy, space, and time. You got those ingredients, you can make a lot of stuff up, which is what I'm doing. So, on a psychic level, we can say that matters of concern predominate the morb mentality, which is an entity, which in this case, in my mind, I created, that exists sort of in the mass trance of what this constructed world has come to mean and be for living. Now, again, this is a philosophical stretch here. So we're talking almost like a matrix. In the Far East, they might call it the Maya, where people live in illusion. I call it illusion because we're alluding to things that are perceived to be out there, right? Rather than just being centered in, you know, within practice of perfection is really being still and empty. Yeah, I could go in for that a bit more, but this is a podcast called mikesmastermind.com where I examine these things. So hopefully it's of interest to you. I mean, it's sort of still the beginning phases of something that's been connecting in my mind for a very, 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 very long time, right? I mean, since I was a kid, because at 13 I decided to join Eckankar. And I'm going to get in touch with one of my old eighth grade buddies, a guy. I haven't seen him since that time, but he joined with me. I want to see where his life is at now and share some of these philosophical far out ideas. So, what this philosophy is called, if you could say, it's a way of being. So, I decided to call it ultra being. Sort of, if you could imagine the peak of the pyramid, if you know anything about Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we emerge from struggle, right? And it can be very stressed and all the way up that pyramid steps from the basics of survival to thrival. What does it entail? What happens in this spark of imagination that would lead to some sort of what Maslow described as self-actualization, where someone really came into their own way of ultra being? And what is this ultra being? Is it sort of like a mastery of the moment, you could say? Yeah, if you're going to just give it that one quick sentence. Otherwise, ultra being is a practice of being present and how we're present to things. And I've had, like you, many different lessons and experiences over a vast period of a lifetime that hopefully has informed a better way of your being as compared to other type past moments where we might have been less so, to the degree that we lost it, and maybe you lost something very significant. So the way that we would become into this pristine sense of presentness would be ultra being. Ultra being empty, ultra being present, ultra being loving as you can. And it's a natural flow, right? Because this state is not coming from an artificial sense. It's coming from your heart, being true to yourself as you define the self, the soul, or the current state of your consciousness, your mood, swing, to just sort of the experience of what things are as they're perceived, we create in this Weltschloss dimension, which coming in from the MEST, from matters of concern and energy, theft to space invasion and time loss, we reconstruct it. That's me closing the closet door. Could be a metaphor. The idea that we would sort of be a bit more ultra being present. And then we realize that this is a bit more of an emptiness. So our dwelling in this world can equitably deal with matters, right? Energy, space, and time. And we just sort of fit right in. We might be a mover and a shaker, or we sort of might be backing off. Whatever the situation, the world that you're dwelling in, it's a comprehension of things to see it as they are and not necessarily get lost in that projection, which is the maya, the illusion of what is out there. Because that's just perceived, right? The internal perceiver, having a sense of what one is thinking, I call it the flight you take every day, is your thoughts, words, and actions, TWA. If you just kept that in mind, if nothing else, what am I thinking? What am I saying? How am I acting? What am I actualizing? How am I showing up? Now, if you realize it's a projection, then you might sort of, spin down the dial maybe, or dial it up, dial it down, whatever it would be for you, or you just sort of turn it off for a bit, right? Constant thinking, right? About what, right? About who, about what you want to do or change, experience. And it's okay to want to have these things because it is what it is. You don't have to be judgmental per se. You could have some sort of judgment of something or thought, but you sort of can pull back on it and go, well, it's me thinking that. And then I'm a little bit more cautious and kind in the words that I'm using, particularly around kids. And then the way I'm acting. What is my act? And what am I actualizing in my life? That is the point of why I decided to talk about this today to end up the week. Because in this exploration, it is about our experience. This is what phenomenology, from my limited study of it, understands as far as a philosophy. That understanding, both ontologically, our way of being, is a reflection, a contemplation of our own consciousness. And this reflects our experience, right? Our experience is telling us something. Now, you might have a really great experience, or you want to. So you want to engage people on this level to where it's uplifting because you're showing up in this ultra being sense. And it could be a positive attitude. That goes a long way. A smile on your face and, sort of a nod of yes, of approval, and being supportive, ultra being in the way that you can for people, which is listening to them, being lovingly present, just open, and considering if there's something being asked of you, what it is that they really want, and getting clarification in your communication. So things open up in this dimension, and it's totally freeing, but that possibility only exists in your ability to express it. And this is what ultra being is, or the formula that I came up with. I got to pat myself on the back, because if this would be my long-lasting legacy to pass along to you, to give to your, right? This would be on for generations. UBE3. That's it. This is it. If we're going to have sort of a massive trance wake-up, mass trance awakening into ultra beingness, the formula UBE3 is, I think, the only way to get through the portal. And it can be a test for some because ego's involved, but in this case it's not. It's looking at ultra beingness from the expression of it, which is UBE3 stands for UB, like Gandhi, you be the change, but UB, the letters, stand for ultra being, E3, an excellent example of enlightenment as you know it to be. So you become this enlightened example that's excellent in reverse terms, because you're being in the way of this ultraness, which is a lightness to me of being, if I had to describe it. But it's really empty of agenda other than just being present, because I got no constant TWA going on. I don't have no thoughts in my mind or, words that wither upon whether I get the outcome I desire. In the past, maybe I was Mike, the master manipulator of these things. Ask anyone who's known me for a long time. So I apologize, and I want to make good on things, and my way of sort of ultra being present is to express this UBE3 as best I can as a teaching, because this to me leads to what I describe as self-liberation. Guy Finley writes a lot about this, if you know the works of Krishnamurti, or Guy Finley's teacher, Vernon Howard, and many others, and, talking about whole brain functioning from Dr. David Jubb's work. You've got something here that is coalescing on the idea that we can be free of our story, that we can break free of limitation that's self-imposed. Because as long as we keep projecting into illusion of what's perceived out there, unaware that we are the projectors of that. Now, there could be things being shown to us, no question about it. But our judgments and interpretation are totally our own, and it's okay to have whatever it is. You just got to know you're having them. So I-awareness really is a word unto its own of I-awareness, because what kind of awareness would you have? Would it be that which is out there, the illusion? Or what you have inside you that's tame and pleasant and lovingly, right? Expressing this UBE3. This UBE3 formula is simply, again, ultra being An excellent example of enlightenment is you know it to be, as you're able to express it and expand it and experiment with it. This is the new reality of things. We can deal with issues, and we want to resolve certain social issues, but you can only do it if you come from an enlightened state, which is empowerment. Because if you're attached to certain types of outcome, you're kind of playing the yin-yang, good and bad, right and wrong duality thing, right? You're just going to swing back and forth. But if we take a century in things and go, well, all right, everyone needs to be heard. It's only fair. Nobody gets hurt. Nobody gets left behind. This is what the premise is. So you might have to wait a little bit. And so you might be tested to lose your patience or to react out and karate chop that person. And they might relatively deserve it, but yet you don't quite go there because you know people are working out their own experiences and freedom is allowing them to have what it is they're going through. Now, if they're asking you for support, there's permission granted for you to support them. And of course, we can always be supportive just by being lovingly present, but I'm saying there's a specific request. We can be good upon it and say, all right, let's have a consideration for what UBE3 is. So I'm going to end it up here around the 12-minute mark. I just saw the 11 flash. I'm having fun with this, but this is a wrap-up to consider. If we're going to have a contemplation, let's consider what the possibilities would be as a practice. UBE3 put into practice. So ultra being, an excellent example of enlightenment is you know it to be and express it because you've modeled some form of mastery. You had a great teacher or someone was an excellent example for you and you just observed it and you learned. Oh, now you could be this beacon, this delight for others. So there's something here for people to just sort of grasp simply by you being present. And what a gift this truly is. All right, this is Mike's Mastermind. We're exploring the deeper dimensions of the Weltschloss, which you can find at grandtourideas.com. If you don't want to go for weltschloss.com, grandtourideas.com, where you can get a sprinkling of these different ideas there. Yeah, all right. Well, please give me your feedback and pass the word along. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time on mikesmastermind.com.